the courage to be disliked, the courage to be your own person, the courage to put up with the consequences of whatever you decide, right? That was it for me. I could not stand law another day. I was a professor. I had my own practice, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
Welcome to the Leader's Mindset, where we bring you illuminating conversations with leaders making a difference in business and our communities. Today I'm here with Camilla Dorand. She's the publisher of Red Rock City Lifestyle Magazine and South Vegas City Lifestyle Magazine.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here with us today.
My pleasure, Jason. Thank you for having me.
And thank you to our good friends here at OTSI for letting us use their conference room on short notice to record this podcast. We had another location that fell through on us. So my eternal gratitude to Mike DeLuca and the folks at OTSI who are always taking really good care of us. So let's start here. You dropped out of law school to backpack around Europe.
Yeah.
Tell us what went into that.
Well, let's start from the beginning then. When I was about to graduate high school, my father said, Camilla, you can do anything you want in your life as long as you're a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer. And I was completely lost at 17, 18 years old. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had anger issues. I was a rebel.
Like most of us at 17, right?
Yeah, well, my mom was an alcoholic, and so that took a toll on me. A lot of people don't have that extra issue. So I had, in my mind, a lot of reasons to hate my life. But, for exclusion, I ended up choosing law. And
right, no thanks to engineering, no thanks to medicine. Also, I should have mentioned you grew up in Brazil.
I'm from Brazil.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different world than growing up here in the States. And
totally. Yeah, totally. My formative years were in Africa, actually, in Nigeria. And then I went back to Brazil when I was 10, and then I stayed there until 16. I lived in the U.S., and then at 18, I went to law school. Anyway, so I went to law school, and I didn't really like it. I kind of winged it for years, and, I did an internship here, an internship there. I was trying to find myself. I started teaching English, private tutoring. And I took a job, my first corporate job ever, with PricewaterhouseCoopers. This was back in 1996. And I hated it. I just hated it. I could not see myself fitting inside a box. I could not have the political conversations with people. And I started to gain weight again. So I had like a weight fluctuation huge throughout when I was 14 to 24. And I started to gain all this weight back, and I was super unhappy. And I remember sitting in my bedroom floor on a Sunday looking at the code tax law, and my mom comes in. And,
as we all like to do for fun on a Sunday.
Right. And my mom, she had her sober moments, and she was fantastic on those moments. And she said, Camilla, what's going on? You've gained weight again, and, you look so unhappy. I'm like, Mom, I'm not happy. I was 6 months into my job with Price Waterhouse, and she said, so if you didn't have to worry about anything, what would you do? I said, I would put a backpack on my back, and I would just go to Europe. And she said, well, do you have money saved? I'm like, yeah, I have money saved. Well, then why don't you do it? I'm like, what? What about Dad? She's like, don't worry, I'll take care of your father. And so the next day, Monday, I went to Pricewaterhouse. I resigned. I went to law school. I dropped out, and the rest is history.
Yep. But what were some of the highlights of backpacking around Europe?
Just finding my way back to myself. But if you want to know, like in places, I went to London first, and I loved the city. I decided to stay there. It was just going to be a week, but I ended up staying 6 weeks. I found a job as a nanny for 4 boys, and my boss was an architect, an English architect. little cuckoo. So it didn't last very long. I'm like, okay, this is not what I signed up for. She didn't want to take care of the boys, whatever. So then I went to, I met my best friend during this time, Maria. She lives in Australia. Then I just traveled around to Greece, France, Italy, Turkey. I lived in a kibbutz in Israel, just all over, Amsterdam. Then I met my parents at the end of that year in Copenhagen because it was their 25th year anniversary. And I had sworn I would never go back to Brazil. I didn't want to see my mother ever again. And I didn't want to go back to law school either. But when I saw my father, my heart just, shrunk. And I decided to go back to Brazil at the end of that year. And so I did without telling them. I just showed up. I had my best friend's mom go get me at the airport. And I showed up at my house. Like my brother knew because someone had to unlock the front door. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I showed up and I'm like, my mom was sleeping in my room. And my dad, went to wake up my dad. And he's like, go away, go away. He didn't know it was me. And when he opened his eyes, like, Camilla, you're home. And so I re-enrolled in law school.
Yeah, you went back to law school after you said you wouldn't.
I did.
But what did you find out about yourself on that year and a half you were gone? Because you said you found yourself. So what did you find out?
I found my way back, right? So it's not that I found myself. I think finding ourselves is a constant journey. I'm still looking for that. I don't think we can ever get to the core of who we are truly. I think life is an ever evolving journey where we can be better every day. So I started to find my way back to myself back then. And first of all, I had to admit that I had an issue. I had an addiction to food. And I was looking at the Eiffel Tower, and all I could think about was the next McDonald's meal that I would have in a chocolate milkshake. So, and I found out that, life can be great. Life can be beautiful. I don't have to be bitter. I don't have to gossip about people and just do me, stay in my lane and work on myself. That's what I found out. I don't have to fit in a box, actually. Yeah.
Which is what you were trying to get away from.
Right.
So you found that out for sure, and then you went back to law school, and then what came next?
So I graduated from law school. I started my master's degree in legal studies. So in Brazil, law school is an undergrad. And I finished my master's. I met my first husband. We got married. Then when I left my parents' home because I got married at the age of 32, because that's the culture in Brazil. I don't know if it's still like that right now in 2025. But back in the early 2000s, it still was. You, especially in my social class, you stayed with your parents until you got married. So I left my parents' home for the first time when I was 32. And my parents were like, while you live under this roof, these are my rules and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So the first thing I did when I left I left my parents' home to marry this guy, I went to have my astrological chart read. And the lady said that, oh my God, here in your career, I can see that law is saturated. I'm like, oh my God, finally someone knows what they're talking about. And I said, what should I do? She said, you should work with image. I'm like, image? But what about image? She said, I don't know, Camilla. That's all it says here. You go find out. So I started soul searching. What am I going to do? And in the meantime, I had lost 90 pounds on my own. And I started to buy all these clothes, my wardrobe came down. It was so heavy, full of stuff. And I had to learn how to dress myself according to who I was and my personality. So while I was soul searching on what to work with image, I had an insight. I said, oh man, I'm going to do with others what I did to myself. I'm going to help them with their image. Because I lost all this weight. I had to learn, and I fell in love with fashion and style. So that's what I did. I told my husband back then, I said, hey, quitting law, and I'm going to enroll in this, I'm going to start on this new path. And that was the beginning of the end of our marriage because he was a lawyer. And he was so angry that I didn't consult him and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whatever, dude. The marriage was over within a year. And so I enrolled in all these courses in personal styling because I'm like, go big or go home. My dad, I told him, he didn't really talk to me properly for 2 years. But I decided that I wanted to be on TV. And so I adopted an alias, Mila Matias,
Mm-hmm.
because my ex husband's name is Matias. And Mila Matias like catchy and like, yeah. And then, talking to people, hey, can you be my guinea pig? I'm just doing these courses. And as I was talking to people, people are like very impressed with my courage to leave law behind, a right career, like a secure career to go into this endeavor. And personal styling in Brazil back then, only like a handful of people did it.
It was really new back then, in the
Super
early
new.
2000s.
I thought I was going to be the pioneer, but when I started research, I saw that like 4 or 5 women were already doing it.
Was it easier to make that change, taking on that Mila Matias persona?
No, well, no, that didn't really matter. That was more of a brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the courage to be disliked, the courage to be your own person, the courage to put up with the consequences of whatever you decide, right? That was it for me. I could not stand law another day. I was a professor. I had my own practice, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. And Mila Matias just was just someone I could become. That was super feminine because having grown up with an alcoholic mother, I had my dad, and my brother's identity so strong to me, right? And I'm like, I don't want to be a woman, not all this transgender thing. It's not that, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't identify myself with the feminine side of a woman, with the softness. And so becoming Mila Matias allowed me to embrace this side that I didn't even know was there. And quickly, I started to contact newspapers and magazines in my city, in my neighborhood. And I said, "Hey, I'm Mila Matias. I'd like to write for you for free." So I got like a couple columns in major strategic newspapers. And I started a network, and I finally met a woman. I went on the radio. I became like a radio co-host. I had no idea what I was talking about. I was like 4 or 5 months into my courses, so I would study the night before, and I would write all these notes to cheat and to pretend that I knew what I was talking about. And because of my law school, and I was with Rotary,
You knew how to prepare.
I knew how to prepare and how to fake it.
Mm-hmm.
So I spoke with conviction, and like people thought I had been doing it for 4 or 5 years, and that's what I told people. And I was in this radio show, it was a national radio show for 6 months, and then they changed the format, so I was asked to not participate anymore. But right after that, I met a woman that she's a PR in Brazil, a very successful PR, and she got me to audition for a makeover show that was just starting. It was the first makeover show on national television in Brazil, like prime time Sundays. And the director looked at me, and he's like, "Okay, we record next week." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And by then I knew a little better of what I was talking about, right? But that's it. And then Mila Matias just I started to be in demand, and people loved it. And to go on air the first few times, I had to drink a little wine. I would like fill up a water bottle with white wine and say it was tea to loosen up because I had no experience in front of the camera. But yeah, I was a hit as Mila Matias, and I wrote my first book. A few years after that, I wrote my second book. My dad went back to talking to me when he understood what I was doing and saw how happy I was. My mom was super proud of me for having left my marriage, for having embraced another career, and for being happy, getting a step closer to who I really am, my essence.
When was the moment you realized you were born for the spotlight?
My mom always said that I was born for the spotlight, but I noticed when I was having fun, and enjoying what I was doing for the first time and being successful at it. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels really good, right? When
Yeah.
when people start to recognize you for something that you love doing that you
Yeah.
would do for free and you're
Yeah.
getting paid for it. It's always
Yeah.
it's always a bit of a thrill.
Yeah.
So what? So you were on this show. You were doing these makeovers on Sunday afternoon.
hmm
Book one, book two. What else was Mila Matias into back in the day?
Oh, Mila Matias was still into personal development, self growth. I always want to do more, and so I enrolled myself in a life coaching course to just blend my coaching skills with my talent.
Hmm.
I'm a leader, right? I have a very acute instinct on how to handle things, how to work with people, how to, strategize but I needed more structure. So I enrolled in this life coaching certification course in Brazil. And I wanted to go to the next level. Like, okay, I want to reach people more, differently, broader. Then I had cancer.
Hmm.
I had thyroid cancer in 2012, and I made a deal with God. I said, if I die today, that's perfectly fine. Like if this is my end, I'm fine with it. I've traveled the world, I've lost all this weight, I've reinvented myself, I've forgiven my mother, I've forgiven myself because my mom died in 2008, and the path to forgiving her and me started after she died. And so I donated my eggs. I've done so much. So if you want me to die, I'm gonna be perfectly fine. But if you want me to live, make me an instrument of your will and put me in front of people that I can help and can help transform and be happy. And this was in June of 2012. And so after I went through the thyroid, I removed my thyroid. I went through the, radioactive iodine therapy. I was like not working for 3 whole months, just recovering and figuring myself out. I wrote my first book in English. It was a memoir at that time. And I had a wedding to go to in Alabama in December of that year, 2012. And something told me that I would come back married from from that from that wedding. And so I had no money, right? Because I didn't work for 3 months. All the savings that I had, I just lived with my dog. It went to pay for my bills. And living in São Paulo, it's like a metropolis, is not cheap. And so my dad said, Camilla, you have this wedding to go to. Do you need money? I said, no, Dad. I don't even know if I'm going to go. He's like, no, but this is your American family. You have to go. Like, I was an exchange student there in Alabama in 1991. And I said, you're right. I have to go. So he's like, if you need money, let me know. I said, no, I'll be fine. So I bought the ticket and I went to Alabama and I met a man. And 3 days after we met, we decided to get married. I went back.
A very Mila Matias thing to do.
It's a very Camilla thing to do. And I went back to Brazil. I terminated my agreements, my contracts, put my apartment up for lease, sold all my stuff, my car, gave away a lot of things. Then he flew down. He brought my dog with him. And that's when my dad knew I was serious. And then 2 weeks later, I arrived in the States February 18 of 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we got married, officially married, paper, six weeks later, so I could start with the immigration process, become official resident here in the States. And yeah, that marriage ended last year.
Yeah.
Almost 12 years married. You know?
I want to dig into a little bit of the business side of that experience, but I want to go back for a second because you talked about your journey of forgiving your mom.
Uh-huh.
And forgiveness is often a hard thing for a lot of people. It's hard. What was hard about your journey through forgiveness? How did you find your way to it? What advice do you have for folks who may be struggling with forgiving someone in their life?
So I didn't even know that I wanted to forgive her. I didn't even know I had to forgive myself, right? So what happened was, when she died in 2008, I felt absolutely nothing. I was actually relieved that she died. And people would say, I'm so sorry your mom died. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. Just give me something else. Like, let's continue doing whatever we're doing." I didn't feel anything. And I had to give the news to my brother who lives in Australia, and I heard him howl on the other side of the line. And like that, I didn't understand. Like, why are you feeling this? She was a horrible mother, you know? That was my thought back then. And in 2010, I came on a vacation with my father to the States. It was my first vacation as Mila Matias. And we celebrated his birthday in LA in Disney, at Disney. And, you know, when they have all those fireworks at the end of the night with the Christmas songs, and, you know, I don't hate Christmas anymore, but I don't celebrate it because every Christmas she was drunk and she was on like pills. And it was just, I had terrible memories. But one memory of her happy and vibrant came during that night in 2010 when I heard one of the Christmas carols, Silent Night. I just remember her like with a big smile on her face singing Silent Night, and I just broke down. I started crying, like really, like ugly crying. And my dad didn't really know what to do with me, and he just like patted me on the arm, like, okay, you're okay. And we went to the hotel that night, and I had a dream about my mother and a cat that she was taking care of. And that dream, I woke up and I felt this hollow pain in my gut. And I'm like, oh, this is what my brother felt. That's when I felt the loss. Like it took me 2 years to feel the loss of her, you know, her death, her passing. And I was just distraught. I had no idea how to handle it. So during breakfast, I talked to my dad about it, and that just started the journey. I'm a very spiritual person. I meditate every morning. I've always felt things, heard things. And I started a dream about her, like, and they were lucid dreams. Like I was actually meeting my mom in another, you know, ether, whatever you want to call it. And she was so sick in our first encounter. And with every dream, she started to look healthier, and I started to soften. And then after that, I started my life coaching course. And towards the end, there were activities. And one of these activities made me call my dad. And so he would take me to the cemetery to visit her grave. And in the same day, after I called him to take me there, there was an activity like a constellation, 3 people, right? So I had to choose 2 women, one that represented me and someone who represented the person I had to forgive or ask for forgiveness. And then I would just watch. And I'm like, oh my God, who am I going to ask for forgiveness? I'm a good person. I don't do anything wrong. I don't offend people. I'm a little stern sometimes, but you know, that's just my personality. And then it hit me. I'm like, oh, I got to forgive myself. And so I told the me's what they were gonna, what it was about. And then there was no script, but the way they spoke is the way that I would talk to myself. And everybody in the classroom just broke down crying, and I was crying. It was so cathartic, Jason, so cathartic. And I think that's part of my cancer journey, right? Because so after that day, the week after that, I went to visit my mom. And when I saw her name on that grave, I just knelt down and I cried and I cried and I said, I forgive you, please forgive me. And, it was like a very intense moment. And I felt like something had lifted off my shoulders. And I just continued on my journey. I did, I'm a big fan of alternative medicine, ayahuasca. So the journey continued till last year when I turned 50, and I was driving home from the celebration, and I'm like, I'm so grateful for my mother. I want to honor her. I want to honor who she was, and I'm going to live the next 50 years for her. And so last week I was in Germany meeting her sister for the first time. She's going to be 92. She's 16 years older than my mom.
Oh, wow.
So going to Germany was like closing, a circle that's so therapeutic and heartfelt.
Well, I'm glad you're able to close that and find that forgiveness for yourself and for your mother,
Yeah.
and also kind of move on to another chapter with your family and new members of the family you didn't know. So
Yeah, for sure.
So what a journey, right?
No kidding.
But so let's get back to your moving to the States.
Yeah.
And I believe you moved to California.
Yes, I first moved to Orange County, Newport Beach. And for 2 years, I was trying to settle in, find myself. I went to work at Ralph's grocery store, pushing carts, even though I have a master's degree in law.
And a famous television personality in Brazil.
In Brazil, so I'm very spiritual, like I mentioned. So my goal is to crush my ego. Like, let my essence is my soul, and that's how God speaks to me. So I crush my ego so I can listen to God. And I'm like, I got to do something. So I went to work for Ralph's, pushing carts, bagging stuff. That lasted 6 weeks. I'm like, okay, I wasn't born for this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on my book. So the book that I had started writing and finished in Brazil in Portuguese, I started to translate it to English with the help of my cousin, who is now, she passed as well, but she was an author in Brazil. So she was coaching me, and I was sending her my chapters. So I finished my book, my memoir here. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to go to work after 2 years. And I told my ex-husband, my American ex-husband.
Your husband at the time.
Yeah. I said, I'm ready to go back to work. She's like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm just going to go back to doing what I did in Brazil. I'm going to be Vila Matias. Like, dude, you don't know anybody here. I'm like, oh, that's right. Like, why don't you just go back to school? I'm like, okay, that sounds like a great idea. He's like, yeah, go get a master's in psychology or something. I'm like, okay. So I did. I enrolled in a master's program in mental health counseling with Capella University in 2014. Yeah, 2014. And I have a master's now in mental health counseling. And during that time, we moved to Scottsdale and then moved to Chicago and then ended up moving to Vegas. I was trying to find a place to call home. I didn't feel like I belonged in California, in Scottsdale. Chicago was the weather. Ugh.
Yeah.
Cannot do the weather. 9 months of winter for a Brazilian is a no-no. And we drove to Vegas on a trucks with my 2 dogs at the time and never left. I love this town. So I finished my master's year. I got my internship, got all my hours, passed the board exam, became a licensed clinical professional counselor. Then I became a hypnotherapist. And then I started my PhD in counselor education supervision, again, trying to fit into a box. So I burned out in September of 21, right after COVID. I was doing my private practice. It was thriving. I had, a lot of patients, a lot of clients. But I was feeling depressed. I was feeling that wasn't for me. Being inside an office 6 to 8 hours a day 4 times a week just wasn't working for me. And we were having dinner in our home on a Friday, and we had some friends over, and my brother from Brazil was here. And they asked my ex-husband, so how's your magazine doing? Because he had started the Henderson City Lifestyle. Because they're franchises. And he said, it's great. And they're like, oh, we get the Red Rock at home. How's that going? And he said, oh, Christine is selling the magazine. And Christine is the founder. And immediately I said, I want to buy it. And they all looked at me like, what? I said, yeah, I want to buy Red Rock. Well, what about your practice, Ed? What about my practice? But what about your PhD? What about my PhD? I want to buy this magazine. And so I did.
That's awesome. And I want to dig into everything with the magazine, but let's take a break. I want to play a game first. Are you up for a game?
Always.
All right. The name of this game is Rapid Response.
Oh.
I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I want you to respond with the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay, be aware, people. Be aware, people. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people play this game and the filter comes off, which is great. So you don't need to give us one-word answers. elaborate as much or as little as you'd like to, but we just want to get the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the question. All right?
All right. Let's go.
All right. You ready?
Born ready.
All right. Camilla Dorand, rapid response round. Your time begins now. Podcast recommendation.
Mel Robbins.
Okay. Something we should all be doing to promote our image.
Really know who you are. Know what you want to convey to people, and make sure that your external presentation matches your internal personality, who you are.
I love every bit of that because that's everything we teach officers in the Air Force on how to lead.
Yeah. Got to match. It's got to click, you know?
Absolutely. Someone we should all be paying attention to.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Who should we be paying attention to, Jason? It's such a broad question.
It is.
I was gonna say me.
Well, that would be a fair answer. I mean, I think our audience is getting to know why they should be paying attention to you.
Okay, let's stick with me then.
All right, done and done. All right, don't answer yet. You get a choice on this one. Either your Get Pumped Up song or your walk-on music.
Ooh, my Get Pumped On song. I've been listening to a song called Hot. It's so good.
Who sings that?
La Felix.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not one I know. I used to be cool and know music, and now I don't
I can
anymore.
show it to you after we're done.
All right. You're going to show it to me afterwards. The biggest influence in your life.
My mother.
A book everyone should read.
The Power of Now.
That is a great one. A summertime activity you're looking forward to.
I was gonna say just being in the water because it's so hot here in the summer.
Yeah, pool season's like here now in Vegas.
Yeah.
It's warm right now.
Be in the water. Yeah.
So, your dream vacation spot.
Ooh, India. I want to go to India.
Oh, you haven't been to India?
No, not yet.
I just kind of had a feeling you've been everywhere, so.
No, so Asia, Indonesia is just the only continent I haven't been to.
Okay,
Yeah.
Very cool. A future trend you're excited about.
Future trend that I'm excited about. The more awareness to mental health. Yeah.
I think that's really good. That's something I've been watching, especially during my time in the military, of where we barely acknowledged mental health was a thing when I was first coming to the military. And I mean, it is 30 years later. And it's, well, at least we're recognizing it's a thing now. We may not be doing as much to help people as we could in the military, but we at least recognize it's a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Your favorite sports team or player?
Oh, in America?
Wherever.
So my favorite sports team, my brother, if he listens to this podcast, I'm gonna send him the link. It's Corinthians. It's our soccer.
Your football team?
Soccer.
You guys call it soccer?
Of course.
You
got a foot on a ball. How can it be football, right? It's soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be football here, but it's not.
I don't know. I don't pick the words. I don't know how it works. I will tell you. So I've been watching that show on FX, the Welcome to Wrexham show with Ryan Reynolds and Rob Macklin. You bought a Welsh English football league team, and I wanted to watch it because I thought it was gonna be more about the business side of running a sports team, and it's really been a lot more about the town and the fans and the community. And I'm starting to get excited about English football or soccer. So watch out. I may be more interested in that in the future. So, but that's the national team.
No, that's not the national team. The Brazil would be the national team. So Corinthians is the team for São Paulo, one of the teams for the state of São Paulo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for playing our game.
Oh, of course.
It's always fun to get to know our guests in a way that I think the other questions don't quite let us do. Although you've shared a ton since you've been on here. So you talked about taking over the magazine, why you took over the magazine. What changes have you made since you took over the magazine?
Changes in what regard?
In the magazine itself and how you're running the magazine. How have you made? Because you started with Red Rock, How have you made that yours?
Great question. So when I first took over, I was still twice a week doing therapy to make ends meet because, I had to pay Christine the balance of whatever the deposit that I gave her. So I was still doing therapy. And then I just started to learn how to be a salesperson because it's a free magazine. It's targets the higher end community here in Vegas. So we go to the high net worth individuals in Las Vegas in the west side of town. So I just remembering how Mila Matias behaved, right? And networking again and getting comfortable and just adopting a new identity. I didn't change my name. My name is still the same as it was as a therapist. But it's like more fun. It's not an inside the box kind of gig. And then I slowly realized that I can turn this magazine into something that really serves this community. And so I started to reach out to nonprofits and want to help them gain awareness. So I started to dedicate some pages of my magazine to promote them by putting an ad every month for them, for their events, to raise money, to invite people to their fundraisers. I started to organize fundraisers, networking events, and at first I was chasing the money. But after a while, I'm like, this is not what this is about. I have the privilege of having been given a vehicle to reach more people than I did on a one-on-one as a therapist. And then I remembered my deal with God. And I'm like, I have a platform and I can reach a community. And so the articles that, we put in I have a team. So my editor and I, we brainstorm every month. So the articles are always educational, informative, empowering. I continue to highlight nonprofits. I have a giving campaign that I just launched this year because Red Rock's going to be 5 years and South Vegas just turned 3. And it's really making this magazine a product or a vessel that can serve our local businesses and the community. That is what I've made South Vegas and Red Rock into.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've been very successful doing it so far with both of them.
Yeah.
What's different about publishing a magazine from other businesses? What does it take to be an excellent publisher?
You gotta love people. You gotta love people, Jason, and you have to want to not only love people but hold their hands and really educate yourself on what marketing is. Right. And so today, not only do I own the magazines, I'm also a marketing consultant. It's not about the money. If your business is not a good fit for me or vice versa, let's just part ways as business partners and let's become friends. I don't want to take people's money just for the sake of that. I think that my mission, my purpose in life is to serve others. And I have the privilege, like I said, to do that with 2 great vehicles, the magazines. Yeah, because together combined, they reach about 150,000 people in the valley every month.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've had a lot of success with the magazine. You've won awards for publishing the magazine, but you've also been through another transformation, right? Transformation is kind of the constant in your life,
It
right?
is.
So
It is.
so tell us about what your most recently, what the most recent changes are.
Yeah, so I fell into this deep after I won the award in 2022 for having, doubled the magazine in like a quick 7 months. I got on the stage to get the award, and I froze. I'm like, why am I getting this award? This is not for me. Why are they? I don't deserve this. And man, I froze. I couldn't even say thank you. And after that,
And you are someone who had spent a career on television.
yes, yeah. But somehow I am not worthy of this. Just popped up, left that slow, little chatter and became so loud in my head. And I started walking around as if I were an imposter. And I fell into this deep depression that lasted a year. And with all the tools that I have as a therapist and a hypnotherapist, I could not get myself out of it. Reiki and all these things. And I went to therapy and nothing was working until I found my mindset coach. She's out of Texas. And I called her at the end of September of 23. And I said, I need your help. So and so recommended you. I've been feeling like this. And we talked for an hour. And I started her program early October of 2023. And all these narratives that I had been telling myself that I didn't even know existed, but we all have these narratives. I'm unworthy of love. I'm unloved. I am stupid. I'm fat. I'm whatever. My most recent one was I'm a quitter. I'm a quitter.
Which we know is not true, but
to prove that I'm not a quitter, I've changed careers so many times and become successful in all of them to prove I'm not a quitter. But who I am is a quitter. And I've had to embrace failure to make peace with that side of me, right? So for the past year and a half, I've been releasing all of these, Bellany, she calls them core filters, which are narratives or lenses that we see our lives through. And these narratives were keeping me stuck. And I was in a marriage where I was not happy, but I was also unable to leave because I moved to this country because of that relationship. So it was really hard. And as an immigrant, not having the support of your, root friends, your root family, it's hard. So I met a Brazilian woman, and she was the one who gave me the strength to leave my marriage last year. And it's never an easy thing to do, no matter how many times you've been divorced. And I was running away from my grief for 6 months, making very bad decisions.
Well, we live in the right town for that.
Yeah. And at Christmas time, I realized that I had to just stop running and come to terms with my pain that I did not want to face. So that was another component of my growth. And so I leaned into my pain, and for about 6 weeks, I just allowed myself to grieve and to feel. And then it was gone. And now let's go.
And here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
So many entrepreneurs, so many leaders, so many people in general, they feel that unworthiness, they feel that imposter syndrome. What's your advice for someone who may be watching, who may be kind of at the beginning of where you were a few years ago, who feels that I am unworthy, I don't deserve this, that imposter syndrome?
You have to face yourself head on with your heart open. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot.
This is the internet. You can say whatever you want.
Okay, it's gonna hurt like a motherfucker.
I'll check the explicit box on Spotify.
It's just gonna hurt a lot. It's gonna take time to heal. But, once you start on that journey, Jason, there's no turning back. You can't unsee. As they say, you can't unsee. You can't unfeel like an imposter until you face yourself and go to the root of that story. Why? What happened that made you feel that you don't deserve it? Like, what story are you telling yourself? And just going back there and killing that egg, killing that story, and allowing room for a prettier, more beautiful story to come along and help you thrive and continue to grow on your journey along the way.
That's wonderful. So you have, as you said, you've changed a lot of careers. You have always been someone who didn't want to fit in the box.
It's not that I didn't want to. I tried. Believe me, I tried. It would have been much easier for me if I were content on a 9-to-5 job. It would have been so much easier for me if I were content being a housewife. My soul wants more. My soul is hungry for more, to serve people, to help people. I cannot deny who I am.
Well, and that's a great lead-in, because my question is, what's your advice to young women who are trying to advance themselves in their career? Maybe they're trying to be entrepreneurs, whatever it is they're trying to do. What's your advice to them who don't feel like they fit the mold of the thing they're trying to do?
There is no mold. That's the truth. There is no mold. Social media has come to teach us that there is a mold. Trying to fit, everybody's trying to look like everybody else, trying to have the correct body or the correct nose or the hair or whatever. The truth is, we are all unique. There is no mold. And this is what makes life so amazing. So when we try to fit into a mold, we're making a disservice to ourselves and to others. So the first thing is own yourself, own your story, own what you want to become. That's my advice.
Fantastic. No, it's great. It's great. I love that. So you have so many great things going for you. You've talked about some of the dark side of what you've got. You've grown. You've come so far on those things. But what's keeping you up at night? What are the things that you're concerned about?
Listen, nothing keeps me up at night anymore. Sometimes my survivor, which is my ego, it comes, I'm like, but what about this? I'm like, thank you. Up until now, I really needed you in my ear. Right now, you can go to sleep because my higher self, Bellany and I, we got this. So it's constantly doing the work. I have a coaching call with her every morning from Monday to Friday. I'm continuously improving myself, reading books, and releasing, like allowing myself to feel the pain, to grow, to go through the motions, to do the work. So when you're at that level, hardly anything is going to keep you up at night because you trust that not only you're doing your best, you're being your best, life is going to help you out. God is going to help you out. The universe is here to serve us as we are here to serve it and to serve people. I think in this life, we're never alone if we allow ourselves to never be alone, right?
Well, that's really beautiful. So you've got the magazines, you've got the stuff you do in the community. What else is coming up for you in 2025 that we should be watching out for?
Oh man, I'm so focused on making these magazines big. We have a podcast that we started at the end of last year called Sit Downs with City Lifestyle. We have a billboard on the 215 now on the east and west side of town.
If you're not from Vegas, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I hired a social media manager, and I'm really just all in, full body, just in the community, wanting to help businesses, networking, meeting people. This is what 2025, my word, actually, I don't know if I shared this with you. My word for 2025 is rise. So I intend to live up to that word.
It's a great word.
Yeah.
It's a great word. Who should we be trying to connect you with in the community?
Other business leaders, businesses who have business owners who have a charitable side, a side where they want to make a difference in the community, and they have a budget to advertise too. That's important to say, right? Because it's a luxury product, so it's not like, oh, I want a quarter page for $250. No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, we're not talking about the old '90s style paper zines that you used to get in the coffee shop.
No, it's not a coupon book type of magazine. It's a real lifestyle magazine, really sophisticated, elegant, and high-end. So just people that are influential in the community. That's who I would love to be connected with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with today before we let you go?
Have fun and learn to love yourself. Those are my last words of advice.
Okay, well, that's been kind of the theme throughout the episode here. So I'm glad we wrapped up on this. This has been so amazing. I'm glad we got to do this. Tell everyone where they can find you and how they can reach out to you to thank you for joining us today.
So I'm on social media, Camilla Dorand. My handle on Instagram is @camilla.dorand. LinkedIn. My phone number is public because you can go on the magazine's websites and there's my number. So just Google Red Rock City Lifestyle or South Vegas City Lifestyle. I have my calendar there if people want to, make appointments or schedule meetings, whatever. I'm just open to meeting great people.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm glad we got to connect.
Me too, Jason.
I'm glad we got to do this. Thank you for being with us today. This has been a really enlightening episode. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. If you found this episode helpful, please like it, comment it, share it with someone who could use it. If you're on a podcast platform where you can leave us a review, please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps build our audience and get stories like Camilla's out to even more people. So again, thank you for being here today. Go out there, do great things, onward and upward.